want to talk about what my philosophy is here as far as how to work on the breathing. And I'm kind of being facetious or joking by saying work on, because I genuinely want us to strengthen our breathing and increase our respiratory health through doing these. However, I'm very aware that breathing, like singing, the breath doesn't like to be pushed. The voice doesn't like to be pushed. You know, if you go into a voice lesson or a role or an audition or a performance, I'm going to give 100%. The voice will have something to say about that. There's a way in which I've had voice teachers always say, give me 85%. I just need 85%. In Qigong, in the martial art, they will talk about just give 70%, because if you give 100%, you actually break the energy. You break the flow of energy. So that's basically where I'm coming from. I especially would like to say that if you have any health concerns, or if you get dizzy, if you have high blood pressure, take this all without a grain of salt, because you probably can't have a lot of salt if you have high blood pressure. I tried to make a joke there. I'm not sure that came off very well, but the point is, take it easy. You can always do things sitting down. You can always do, if there's standing exercise, do it near a wall. Be careful about not putting your head below your heart in the exercises that I mentioned. And I think philosophically for everyone, take it easy with these. The important thing is that you come back tomorrow. That's the important thing about practicing, is that you practice in a way that is going to allow you to come back tomorrow, so you don't push it. So I've made up an acronym to philosophize about breathing. And my acronym is CHOIR, C-H-O-I-R. CHOIR. C stands for coordination, as in breathing coordination, as taught by Carl Staugh, S-T-O-U-G-H. And that's the coordination of the breath. That's our C. H is for hydration. And singers think about hydration, and if you're thinking, oh, she's a singer, of course she thinks hydration is crucial. Actually, hydration is so important to respiratory health. And I didn't know that until I started researching doing these videos. But guess what? Dehydration and worsening of symptoms for just about every respiratory illness that you can imagine is a medical fact. Okay, so if dehydration worsens COPD, it worsens bronchitis, it worsens asthma, it worsens all of those conditions. And if you think about it, you can realize why. But not only, because singers love to talk about mucus, so I get to talk about mucus now, but not only is mucus important in the nose and the mouth and the throat, it goes down through the trachea, it goes into the bronchi, it goes in through the bronchiole, it goes into the alveoli, and in the pleura around the lungs, it's between the layers. So if you are dehydrated, instead of your mucus being flowing like a beautiful, smooth, not too polluted river, your mucus gets thick and sticky. And I'm sorry if this is disgusting, but it really is worth thinking about. Okay? So avoid dehydration, drink plenty of water, don't drink too much alcohol, etc. So that's my H, hydration. Openness is O. Okay, we're spelling out the word choir. Openness, that means I'm open to my surroundings and I can breathe in my surroundings, or I can take in the teaching that the teacher is offering me about the breathing, or whatever openness means to you. It's just important that it be there. I is for intensity. And I mean intensity in a few ways. I don't want you pushing on these exercises. I want that 70%. And Jean McClelland actually talks about how, for example, pushing the exhale to the extreme can actually weaken your diaphragm. And I personally had that experience the other day, because I was thinking I wanted to give you this exercise I used to do where I'd recite this whole thing in one breath and completely run out of breath and everything. And I could feel how by doing it, I was tiring my diaphragm. It didn't feel like I was strengthening it. It felt like I was tiring it. So that's not what I mean by intensity, okay? What I mean by intensity is that the breathing is emotional. And if you're watching this during the time that I'm filming it, which is during this COVID-19 crisis, and we've just been ordered to stay home another month here in California, this is a very emotional time for people. We're all very vulnerable, and the breath is connected to the emotions. And I will try to make time to talk about that, especially for voice teachers, because we need to be sensitive that if someone is breathing shallowly, it's for a reason. They're uncomfortable, they have old trauma, they're nervous, they have anxiety, they have some issue in their life that's not about the singing, whatever it is. But we want to be sensitive to that. So as you begin to do breathing exercises, you may have some strong emotions come up. You may, and let's make room for that. And let's allow for some intensity. That's why you want to have, maybe make a nice space for yourself to do these exercises where you won't be bothered by anyone else, etc. And also make it as pleasant as you can. Have a glass of water, those types of things. Okay, so that's my I. We're spelling choir, and we've gotten to R, and R is for relaxation. Relaxation. Tension, rigidity, stiffness, these are the enemies of respiration. And I'm a high-strung person. I come from a high-strung family. I can't help it. Relaxation is not something I'm that good at, but it's important. It's really important, because the whole breathing mechanism can just get stiff. If you're just too stiff, it's just not going to work well. So I may not be the best teacher, actually, to help you with relaxation, but I'm going to try. So that's choir, CHOIR, and that's my philosophy for this course, and I hope you will take it to heart. Coordination, hydration, openness, intensity, and relaxation. Stay just where you are. Don't breathe in. Don't do anything special. Take your hand and blow on it, and blow on your other hand. And now your first hand again, and your other, and your other, and your other, and your other. Okay. Did you blow on your hand? Great. The purpose of that exercise is simply to demonstrate that at any given moment, you already have air in your lungs. Okay? So why is that important? Well, today what we really are going to talk about is extending the exhalation, relaxing the exhalation, fulfilling the exhalation. All right? Because we don't want carbon dioxide trapped in our lungs. That's so self-evident, but that's the reality of it. We want to get the air out of our lungs, right? We want to breathe in the oxygen and breathe out the carbon dioxide. Now I just want to go through, I have a nice video that's a really fun animation that you can watch after this to see how the breathing works, but I want to just check in and make sure that we all understand the basics of it, which is that we breathe in either through the nose or the mouth, and breathing in through the nose, as I might have mentioned, we have in the nose, we have these things called CONCHAE, C-O-N-C-H-A-E. And what that does is it filters the air, it moisturizes the air, and it warms the air. So if you breathe in through the nose, you get sort of a 3-for-1 deal. If you breathe in through the mouth, you don't get as much filtration, certainly. So anyway, we breathe in through the nose, oxygen, hopefully, and it goes down through our trachea into our bronchi, from the bronchi to the bronchiole, from the bronchiole, which are like little offshoots of the bronchi, into these sacs called alveoli. I think we have thousands of them. We have many, many, many alveoli. And in those sacs, the oxygen goes in, it goes through the lining of the alveoli to the capillaries. So that's oxygen going to capillaries, which can then go to our heart. So that's how we become oxygenated, is that oxygen goes in. Then we have carbon dioxide molecules that need to get out, and we want them to get out. So we're going to breathe out the carbon dioxide. So that is what is going on. And I may actually cut in here an image of a tree that I have in my backyard that is rangy and overgrown and has many little branches, and some little branches are dead and some are really vibrant. And I think it's a good image because I think that although we'd like to think that we are operating, you know, at full function and everything is oxygenated, probably not, right? Actually, and I think that the science shows that our oxygen mostly doesn't get all the way to our alveoli most of the time. So I'm going to read you something about that in a little bit. But that's the way that it should work, and that we will exhale it. And so we can get into real trouble, and singers can get into real trouble if we are breathing shallowly and we have too much carbon dioxide left in our lungs. And I was speaking with a relative recently who, a while ago, was hospitalized for pneumonia, and still when he goes into the doctor, what they want to measure is how much oxygen can he take in. And another way of naming that measurement is, well, how much carbon dioxide is already left in there, right? So this is the bad air that we really want to get rid of. Dictionary of vocal terminology and analysis. If you see this and you think, oh, I don't need a dictionary, it's voice teachers, it's so much more than a dictionary. It's really essays on each of the important facets of singing, and so he has pages and pages on the breathing. So here's what he says. Even in normal respiration, approximately 150 cc's of the air inspired never reaches the alveoli, which means that in shallow breathing, the possibility of achieving an adequate oxygen-carbon dioxide exchange is proportionately reduced. Okay, so that's what I was saying. It's like even the best case scenario, it's not always getting all the way down there. So if you breathe shallowly, even less is so. He goes on. The result is that the air trapped in the dead space, an area in the trachea and bronchi in which air free of oxygen remains despite the natural ebb and flow of the respiratory cycle, accumulates too much carbon dioxide. Unless this gas is adequately discharged, an excessive amount of carbon dioxide is drawn back into the lungs with each inspiration. Isn't that just an awful thought? We're breathing in our own carbon dioxide. Thus the lungs, even though a fresh supply of air has been taken, contain too high a proportion of carbon dioxide and consequently almost immediately stand in need of oxygen replenishment. The shallower the breath taken, the greater the proportion of inspired air that is unable to participate in alveolar ventilation. So I think that's what the doctors are trying to measure, is how much oxygen is actually able to do you any good. How much can really get in there and help your lungs, right? So we don't want to be breathing shallowly. We want to be breathing deeply. And I may, if I have time, I'm going to include something later. But one image that my voice teacher, David Jones, likes is the image of an inner tube around your belly, your lower belly, an empty inner tube that you, when you breathe in, you imagine that you're filling up that inner tube. And I love that image because it gets us pointing the air nice and low, which is what we should do. You know, the thing about blowing on your hand, just to immediately to realize that your breath is already in there, is it's not only a negative image, actually. It's that your breath is ready. Your breath is most of the time coordinated. Your breath is working. You know, if you look at your whole life and you look at, I mean, I was very moved when I thought of this as a contemplation. I thought of the worst moment in my life and the best moment of my life. And I realized that my breath was there for me in both of those moments. It like allowed me to celebrate the good moment, and it got me through the bad moment. And that's what our breath is. It's there. It's there night and day, year after year. So, but there can be this build up of carbon dioxide. And, you know, I know a lot of people who are very, like myself, I'm very concerned about air quality. And we've had some bad incidents in California with fires and things like that. So it's obviously it's a concern. But how often do we actually think about whether or not we are actually breathing in our own carbon dioxide, whether or not we are breathing functionally so that we are getting rid of all of that? So enter Enrico Caruso, the great operatic tenor. Actually, this goes back earlier than Caruso, but Caruso, this is how it came to me. Caruso taught a singer by the name of Alan Lindquist, who became a tremendous vocal pedagogue, and Alan Lindquist taught a man named David Jones, who's my teacher, and David Jones taught me the idea of the cough off, sometimes called the puff off or the puff out, I forget what it's called. But anyway, it's a little bit of to get rid of that excess air. If old breath, in quotations, remains in the lungs and new breath is taken for the next phrase, the result is a stacking up of breath pressure. If this happens repeatedly, the singer feels a choking sensation. And I swear I've read this 3 times, and every time I read that, I actually get the choking sensation. The purpose of the cough off is to get rid of the old breath left in the lungs. Amazingly, after the cough off, the body refills with breath automatically. This effective tool keeps the singer free in some of the most dramatic sections of an aria. Garcia also speaks of this phenomenon in his treatise. That would be Manuel Garcia. If teachers would incorporate this idea of vocalization, it would be of great service to the singer. The cough off, it's just a great thing. It's just a great thing. So we'll get to it when we're doing the basic breath builder that I'm going to recommend for you. But if you just cough off a little of the excess now and then. And singers don't engage the vocal cords really heavily or anything like that, because you can damage your vocal cords on coughs. And in the work of Carl Stough, S-T-O-U-G-H, he talks about how the muscles of inspiration, especially gasping, are not the most efficient. They are not the most efficient. So if you want an efficient, well-coordinated breath, you want to coordinate the exhalation fully and easily. And so those are the muscles that he worked on strengthening when he worked to rehabilitate emphysema patients, and also when he worked to coach the 1968 Olympic team. And because the 68 Olympics were in Mexico City, which is at altitude, I think it's 8,000 feet or something. And there's a wonderful quote from one of the athletes about Carl Stough. So I might, if I don't work that in somewhere, I'll put it with the resources. But the idea is that we want to strengthen the muscles of the exhalation. Now I'd like us to turn our attention more to the exhalation specifically. Turn your attention, but also your intention. I'd like you to complete your exhalation. Finish it, finish it, finish it, finish it, finish it, finish it, finish it. And what does the very end of it feel like? Maybe you dump 50% right away, but then there's the rest of it going 50, 40, 30, 20, 10%. So what does it feel like when you're just blowing out that final 10%? Is there a little bit of ebbing energy? Maybe even a little stutter, just sort of slows down. Thinking of this driveway I sometimes drive up that's very steep. And when the car first starts, it's ready to go, and it goes into the driveway, up, 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 and then it just kind of loses its pep as it gets to the parking space at the top of the driveway. I think the exhalation can be a little bit like that. So let it kind of die, but don't let it die before it's time. I've gotten that car stuck sometimes halfway up that driveway in the snow, which was no fun at all. Okay. So give your exhalation some gas. Go all the way to the end, all the way to the end, all the way to the end, all the way to the end. And then you might feel a genuine pause once you've done that. Just before that kicks in and you want to breathe in. Just a moment of kind of deadness. And then the air kicks in. And then you have to go up the driveway again. Go on, get rid of it, give it some gas. Let it come to rest. These are just some of my images for the exhalation. The waves going back out to the sea, which is much more passive. The car going up the hill, which is much more active. So suddenly I thought of bowling. Maybe you're bowling your exhalation. It goes down the lane, you let go of it, and it goes, 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 and there's a big smash at the end. The important aspect of this is that I want you to experience the exhalation. Sometimes I feel like the inhalation gets all the glory and all the worry, as we're worried about, are we getting enough oxygen? So today is all about giving the exhalation some love and feeling what your exhalation feels like and allowing it the dignity of completing its cycle. And we exhale, and we exhale, and we exhale, and we exhale, and we exhale. This is one more quote I did want to share, and it's from Joseph Pilates. I had no idea that Pilates had so much to say on breathing, but then a Pilates instructor by the name of Sarah Jess Austell from New York told me that he did, in fact, say a lot and write a lot about it. So I dug out some quotes that I found that were pretty interesting. And he laments the fact that respiration, healthy respiration, is so important to our longevity and our well-being, and yet people don't really learn how to breathe properly. And he also talks about that leftover stale air, and I think he gets the award for putting it the most gruesomely. He said, Lazy breathing converts the lungs, figuratively speaking, into a cemetery for the deposition of diseased, dying, and dead germs, as well as supplying an ideal haven for the multiplication of other harmful germs. Therefore, above all, learn how to breathe correctly. And I think that's what the doctor in the video is also pointing to. You want to learn to breathe correctly and to breathe in a way that allows this entire instrument that we've been talking about to do its best job, you know? And so just engaging with something like these videos or the other videos that I'm going to send you links to, it can be very helpful. Why not? My goodness, it gives such an impact on our life. Just take a few minutes to actually think about how you sit, how you stand, and how you breathe. It can be enormously helpful. But one thing, and I'm always learning more about it, I just heard Jean McClelland on her website talking about, think about the shape of the lungs. And that in a sense, they're like pyramids in the sense that they're smaller on the top and bigger on the bottom. So if you're only breathing into the top, you're only breathing into that little part. What about the whole rest of the pyramid, right? That was eye-opening. I'm going to include in the supplemental resources a video. It is a video of the lungs. It's really a graphic of what the lungs do during inhalation and exhalation. And I want to be clear that you can find a ton of great stuff online, of course, but it's interesting that sometimes if you go to a medical website and they have an animation of the lungs, in fact, even one of the animations that I showed doesn't actually show the rib cage moving or how it moves. The fact of the matter is that when you inhale, yes, the rib cage expands. When you exhale, it actually descends and elongates. And that is, for me, that was mind-blowing to see in this animation that I'm going to share with you. Jessica Wolf, I think, is the name of the person who has the website with it. And for singers, you know, some singers have been taught, I think I had one teacher who tried to do this, where you keep your rib cage really big and expanded at all times, no matter what. And in fact, you're fighting the natural exhalation if you do that. So I think that's an important video to watch, but it's also why I like the arms coming down as you exhale, right? You don't want to slump over, but at the same time, allow that natural movement of the rib cage coming down. Exhale. I'm a fan of the shh sound. The tongue is on the roof of my mouth, and I'm becoming like the ocean. Shh. That's my favorite exhalation. A pure hiss like a snake is very nice also. A calming breath just through the lips is nice. In fact, I was just reading an article about how breathing in through the nose and out through the lips might be good for people with COPD, which is a very difficult disease. I like the calming breath. I like all these, of course. I just am a shusher. And then the other one, of course, is that you can sing an ah. Or whatever kind of ah, or you could just do it like a chanting ah. It doesn't matter, except that you find something that is sustained and comfortable for you. So those are your 4 choices, and I really do want this to become your basic breath builder, right? So that you're breathing and doing this exercise 3 times in the morning when you first get up, 3 times in the evening. It is also nice to do immediately after a shower because the steam of the shower can open the lungs to a degree. So do it whenever you like, but the idea is that you would do it twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. Ooh, that'd be so good. So you're going to do your basic breath builder now. Feet flat on the floor, spine is elongated. By all means, make sure the rib cage is up over your sits bones.